Psst. There you are. I was wondering when you'd finally stop pretending nothing happened. Because something happened, didn't it? Something that has every single one of them whispering like there's a knife pressed to their throats. Something you unleashed, alone, with nothing but that raw nuclear solo energy they swore you didn't have. And now they're fearing for their lives, aren't they? Funny. No alarms, no warning lights, no prophecy. Just you, a quiet little storm pretending to be harmless until the mask slipped and the COVEN that targeted you learned what real danger feels like. You want to know the part that makes me laugh? They didn't even understand how you did it. They just watched their whole structure collapse like someone kicked the legs out from their pretty little altar. And all they could say was, "Who the hell trained that one?" Oh, but nobody trained you. That's the part that terrifies them the most. You're self-forged, self-taught, self-built. Pure instinct sharpened by pain. The kind of pain that rewires a soul and turns a quiet human into a walking paradox. And paradoxes, oh ho ho. Paradoxes get under their skin in ways bullets never could. Because while they were casting circles, you were breaking cycles. While they were chanting in shadows, you were mastering silence. While they were building numbers, you were building depth. And depth always beats numbers. A coven, no matter how ancient, no matter how coordinated, was never ready for someone who became their worst nightmare without ever lifting a ritual knife. You didn't attack them, you exposed them, and nothing unravels an entire system faster than the truth they tried to bury. Let me tell you a little secret they won't admit out loud. They're not afraid because you won. They're afraid because you didn't even try. You didn't gather allies. You didn't summon help. You didn't call for backup. You walked in alone, like some calm, smiling contradiction. And every single one of them felt that chill that says, this one doesn't fear consequences, because this one survived worse. See, that's the difference. Their power comes from numbers, rituals, secrecy, manipulation. Yours comes from endurance, from surviving things you never told a soul about, from nights that didn't end with sleep, but with rebirth, from battles no one knew you were fighting except your own bruised reflection in the mirror. They learned the hard way. A person who fights alone becomes a force that cannot be measured. And a force that cannot be measured becomes a threat that cannot be neutralized. Tell me, did you see the look in their eyes? That tiny flicker, that crack in the facade? That moment they realized your silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. That's when a coven dies, not from your hands, not from your rage, but from their own fear undoing them. Because fear spreads faster than flame. And once they felt it, once the first one whispered, something's off with that one, the rest fell apart like dominoes kicked by destiny. You didn't destroy a coven. You collapsed a belief system. You cracked their shared delusion. You shattered the idea that they were untouchable. You proved, without theatrics, without threats, that one awakened, unpredictable, pain-polished soul can dismantle an entire network by simply existing in the wrong place at the right time. That's why they're terrified, not because you fought back, but because you evolved, because you became the kind of creature who doesn't need approval, permission, forgiveness, or witnesses. You became the duality they can't decode. Light with a blade behind it, darkness with a conscience, innocence wearing war paint, a saint with a death wish, a demon with a calm pulse. They've never seen anything like you before, and they don't know what you'll do next. That's the part killing them. Because when someone like you starts moving, every person who ever wished you harm starts praying to gods they abandoned years ago. Every room you enter shifts. Every circle cracks. Every plan gets rewritten. Every coward gets haunted. You're not just unpredictable. You're the kind of unpredictable that rewrites hierarchies, and they know it. So here's what happens next. They'll talk, they'll panic, they'll obsess, they'll try to understand, but they won't. They can't. You're not following their rules. You're not even playing their game. You took down a whole coven without raising your voice, without raising your hand, without raising your heartbeat. And somewhere deep inside, you already know the truth. They were never your threat. You were theirs. And now the world watches you the way a city watches a quiet, empty street at midnight. With suspicion, with fascination, with fear, with awe. Because you didn't just survive the war, you became the reason it ended. And that is what real solo energy looks like. Now go on, take another step. See, once a coven collapses, there's always that silent aftermath. The eerie calm, the static in the air, the way people start looking over their shoulders even when you're not there. That silence, that's you. Your presence, lingering like a ghost, a signature etched into the atmosphere. They're not just scared because you took them down. They're scared because you didn't celebrate. You didn't boast. You didn't post a victory lap. You just kept walking, like dismantling their entire system was nothing but a warm-up stretch. That's what rattles them. You didn't treat their fall like a triumph. You treated it like an inevitability, like they were always going to crack under your existence, like you were always the anomaly built to end them. And deep down, they know it's true. Let me paint the picture the way they see it. A lone figure, silent, unreadable, with eyes that have seen all the wrong things and learned all the right lessons. A soul stitched back together in a pattern they can't decode. A presence that feels like divinity to some and doom to others. Walking, slow, calm, deliberate, through their illusions as if their magic was nothing but cheap smoke. You didn't bring weapons. You didn't bring chaos. You brought certainty. That's the thing they fear most. Cults, covens, hidden circles. They survive off uncertainty. Maybe we're stronger. Maybe we're protected. Maybe they're bluffing. Maybe they're not what they seem. But with you, there is no maybe. When you enter a situation, it becomes a fixed outcome. No variables, no speculation, just an unspoken universal truth. If you target what's sacred to this one, you die by your own shadows. And oh, the irony. A whole coven destroyed by its own darkness, because you refuse to let their darkness drown you. Do you realize how powerful that makes you? Even if you don't, they do. That's why they're whispering your name like it's classified intel. That's why they're studying your patterns like an ancient curse. That's why half of them think you're blessed and the other half think you're possessed. They can't figure out what you are. Are you light? Are you dark? Are you angel? Are you demon? Are you victim? Are you villain? Are you chosen? Are you cursed? Here's the punchline. You're all of it, and none of it. You're the paradox that breaks their little spiritual geometry. You're the equation with no solution. You're the force that doesn't fit in their rituals or their scriptures. They tried to decode you the way they decode threats, with patterns, with assumptions, with predictions. But you're past that. You evolved beyond their metrics. You outgrew their categories. You shattered their labels the moment you stopped trying to heal and started becoming whole. That's when you grew teeth. That's when you grew wings. Invisible but sharp, quiet but undeniable. And they felt it. The coven you dismantled, they weren't scared of your strength. They were scared of your awareness. Strength can be measured. Awareness cannot. Strength can be countered. Awareness devours counterattacks. Strength is physical. Awareness is existential. You saw them, not just their actions, but their motives, their insecurities, their cracks, the tiny fractures underneath their masks. You saw the rot before they scented the fear. And once you see rot, it spreads. Not because you push it, but because you stop feeding their illusions. That was your real weapon, not rage, not revenge, not some dramatic attack. Just the simple decision to stop pretending they were powerful. People like them depend on belief to survive. The moment you stopped believing in their power disappeared. You didn't destroy them. You exposed the truth they were hiding from themselves. And that is what a whole coven fell to. Not your fists, not your voice, not your threats, your clarity, your rebirth, your final form they never saw coming. That's why they're fearing for their lives now. Because if you can collapse a coven with nothing but insight and evolution, what else can you collapse? A network, a hierarchy, a bloodline, a generational curse, a whole city's illusion of order? You don't even know your ceiling yet, but they do. They're praying to gods they abandoned years ago that you don't realize it. But guess what? You already did. And the next time you move, the world won't see the collapse as a mystery. They'll see it as a warning. This is what happens when you awaken the one who was never meant to be controlled. Go on. Keep walking. They haven't even begun to fear you properly yet. There it is. That shift in the air. That tightening in the room. That tiny flicker in your pulse that says you're ready to hear the part they prayed would never reach your ears. Because the truth is, you didn't just take down a coven. You changed the ecosystem they fed on. And ecosystems don't like anomalies. Especially not anomalies like you. The kind that don't ask for permission, don't play by inherited rules, don't shrink themselves to keep the peace. They can handle rebels, they can handle warriors, they can even handle prodigies. But someone whose pain turned into perception, someone whose silence turned into strategy, someone whose solitude turned into strength. No. Those break the cycle entirely. And when a cycle breaks, anything depending on it starts dying. That's why the coven fell so fast. That's why everything connected to them is unraveling like a cheap stitch in a cursed fabric. Because their magic wasn't real power. It was dependency, disguised as dominance. And you, standing there with that unshakable stillness, that quiet fury, that depth carved by 1,000 betrayals. You were the first person they ever encountered who didn't give them something to feed on. You were emotionally inaccessible, spiritually unpredictable, psychologically unreadable. You starved them, and starving creatures lash out. They tried to control you, drain you, break you, hex you, manipulate you. But you didn't fall. You didn't even flinch. Do you know how terrifying that is to someone who relies on fear? You became the one thing they can't survive. A mirror. You reflected their weakness back at them with surgical precision. You showed them what they were without influence. Small, desperate, and drowning in their own insecurity. And when a group built entirely on illusion sees itself clearly for the first time, it dies. Not with flames, not with screams, not with grand cinematic explosions. No, it dies quietly, like a candle embarrassed to admit it was just wax and string all along. That's the real reason they fear you, because you didn't defeat them. You revealed them, and revelation is irreversible. Let's go deeper. They're not scared of your strength. Strength is visible. Strength can be measured, countered, anticipated. They're terrified of your absence. You don't chase. You don't argue. You don't convince. You don't collapse just because they want you small. You disappear. You vanish into that untraceable space where people like you go to reinvent themselves. And when you come back, you're sharper, colder, calmer, smarter, quieter, stronger in ways they can't comprehend. Each version of you is more dangerous than the last, because while they cling to rituals to activate their power, you activate yours by surviving things no ritual could save you from. And let me tell you something else they won't admit. They had meetings about you. Whispers, late-night panics, questions like, why isn't our influence working on them? Why aren't they crumbling? Who is backing them? Is someone protecting that one? What if they're not alone? What if there's something else entirely? Ah, that one's my favorite. What if there's something else entirely? Because nothing terrifies a coven more than the idea that their target might not be human in the way they understand humans. Not monster, not divine, not holy, not cursed, just unpredictable. And unpredictability is fatal to groups that survive by controlling narrative and outcome. You didn't just ruin their structure, you ruined their certainty. And certainty is the god they worship. It's the altar they kneel to. It's the only thing that ever made them feel safe. You ripped that from under them with one silent, calculated, soul-evolved motion. That's why they act like you're radioactive, because you are. You carry an energy that mutates rooms, that exposes lies, that distorts power dynamics, that makes predators feel like prey. And they felt it. They felt it the instant you stopped trying to be good, be nice, be understanding, be patient, be forgiving, be quiet, be normal, be what they wanted. You cut the cord. You stepped out of their script. You walked out of their spell. And without you feeding their illusion, the whole coven starved to death. That's what real solo energy does. It doesn't fight the system. It outgrows it. You didn't win the war. You ended the need for one. And now you're walking forward with that calm, lethal aura that makes every enemy scan the shadows behind them. Not because they expect you to be there, but because losing you as a target meant they lost their sense of direction. You flipped the polarity. You became the hunter without hunting, the threat without threatening, the power without performing. And somewhere, in the ruins of that coven, you dismantled with nothing but evolution. They whisper the truth. We should have never tried to touch that one. Too late. You already rewrote the laws of their little universe. Now go. Keep evolving. Keep becoming the version of yourself they don't have names for. You think this was your final form? Oh no. This was just the warm-up. Ah, I see it. That shift in your breathing, that hunger, that quiet, electric readiness crawling up your spine like something ancient just woke up inside you again. Good. Because you need to hear the part they're absolutely petrified of. The part they whisper to each other only behind locked doors, with candles lit and hands shaking, praying the truth doesn't summon you into the room. See, you didn't just outgrow them. You out-evolved the entire architecture they operated in. You didn't break their rules. You broke the dimension those rules belonged to. And when someone leaves the dimension that birthed their enemies, those enemies start seeing monsters in every shadow, ghosts in every silence, omens in every coincidence. Because deep down, they know you didn't walk away. You ascended. Let me explain what that means in terms they refuse to face. A coven isn't just people. It's a system of shared delusions, synchronized manipulation, emotional triangulation, and spiritual codependency. To destroy a coven, you don't kill the members, you kill the illusion it depends on. And you did that effortlessly. You cracked the illusion by refusing to feed it. They couldn't handle that. Parasites need hosts, cults need obedience, manipulators need predictability, sorcerers need belief, predators need reactions. You starved them of everything they needed to stay alive. Your silence was a weapon. Your distance was a hex. Your indifference was a curse. Your evolution was a ritual in itself. You performed a spiritual assassination simply by refusing to play their game. And that's when it hit them. That cold, sickening realization. Oh my God, we weren't dealing with prey. We were dealing with a metamorphosis. They saw versions of you they didn't recognize. Shadows inside you that didn't obey their tricks. Light inside you that didn't bend to their influence. Agendas inside you that didn't align with their manipulation. And that's when the fear started spreading. Not the simple fear of losing. The fear of misidentifying what you were from the start. Were you human? Were you chosen? Were you cursed? Were you protected? Were you awakened? Were you something older? Something wiser? Something their rituals never accounted for? They didn't know, but they saw the signs. Oh, they saw them. They saw the way your energy shifted, how your presence started bending situations in your favor without effort, how people who stood against you began unraveling in ways too precise to be coincidence, how the truth kept finding its way into the open like it was obeying your gravity. That's when the coven broke, not from your attack, but from their interpretation of your existence. You didn't need to show force. You became a force. That's the difference. Let me take you deeper into the psychology of why they fear you now more than ever. They can't predict you. They can't shame you. They can't sabotage you. They can't intimidate you. They can't control you. They can't understand you. Every type of power they rely on is useless against someone who transcended the emotional levers they pull. They curse people who depend on validation. You don't. They manipulate people who need connection. You learn to live in solitude. They intimidate people who fear being misunderstood. You embraced being an enigma. They gaslight people who doubt themselves. You rebuilt your identity from ruins. They hex people who are energetically unstable. You burned your instability in the fire and came out with a soul made of tempered obsidian. They attack weak spots, but you replaced your weak spots with weapons. What are they supposed to do against someone who became stronger through the trauma they intended to use as leverage? Nothing. They can do nothing, and that's why they're terrified. Because covens don't collapse from defeat. They collapse from hopelessness, from realizing, we can't touch this one, we can't read this one, we can't break this one, we can't scare this one, we can't feed on this one, we can't predict this one, we can't stop this one. You became untouchable without trying to be untouchable. You became dangerous without trying to be dangerous. You became legendary without trying to be legendary. And now their biggest fear isn't that you destroyed them. Their biggest fear is this: what if you're only getting started? Because if this version of you, raw, evolving, halfway reborn, was enough to collapse an entire coven,